Right, so here we are. Welcome back to the Deckard's dream. This dream of a build of a Deckard's dream synthesizer that I've dreamt of building and continue to build. And here we are about to start the hardware board. The hardware board, I believe it's called. This is the one that has all the sliders on. Now, I seem to have hit a snag. The snag is that the wonderful interactive build guide that I was following that had these fantastic zoomable inable photographs of the thing with the components on bit by bit, so that you knew which order to go in and roughly about where they were, because it was the version 1 and I'm running version 2, so there's already a bit of a disconnect. But the pictures themselves would encourage me and show me that, you know, do these capacitors, then do these resistors, then do these bits, and they look more or less right. It would give me clues as to the order and what goes next and what was missing and what I'd forgotten and where things go. It's gone. It's flipping gone. I don't even know what to do with myself. I mean, here he is. Here's the website. Here's the website. And the images, I mean, the website still exists, but the images themselves have gone. They've gone. So that's that then. I mean, is that? Is that? No, I mean, it can't be, can it? There can't be that I've come this far. It can't be that I've built the entire main board. It has to continue, right? So what happens now? Well, I don't know. I guess I'm taking the training wheels off. I guess I'm now releasing that safety net, that level of confidence that those images gave me. I have to release that. I have to let that go, and I have to work purely from the bill of materials. Oh, I don't know. You know, it's frustrating about this version 2, because for version 1 there's PDFs out there, there's schematics and all sorts of bits and pieces which help. For version 2 there doesn't appear to be any of that stuff. But one should be able to build electronics projects from the bill of materials and a good, well silk-screened board that shows you where the things are. All you've got to do is identify the component and identify the place on the board and stick it on. That's all you've got to do. That's all you've got to do. That's all I'm going to have to do. But that's a bit scary. So if you've been following this and you are in the middle of building your own one, then I will attempt to publish all of the photographs that I take of my boards, because I've been taking photos every time I've installed a bunch of stuff. I've then taken another photo. I will try to collate those together and put them somewhere useful. I had planned to do that, but I plan to do it after I've built and tested the thing so that I know everything I did was right. So I'm not then giving people photographs of something which isn't right, if that makes sense. But maybe, I mean, if you need them, maybe I can release them sooner. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. So these sorts of issues aside, I mean, those photographs may still exist somewhere. Who knows? But failing that, what I've got is this. I've got this, the hardware board. The hardware board. Now this is a board that goes on the front. It's got all these things. These things here. These slidey whatsits. They are all going to have to go in. But more excitedly, perhaps, is that there's a shed load of surface mount on here. Hooray! So I've just had to go back and watch my video on the main board surface mount to remember how I did it, because it's been a little while and I can't remember how I did it. I think I ended up doing a bit of flux pen, a dab of solder, pushing the surface mount thing into that solder and then soldering the other side. I think that's how I went about it. That was the way that seemed to work for me. And that's what I'm going to have to do. Now I have no instructions on the order that these should go on, and so I'm going to have to try to do it as intelligently as I can. I mean, the idea with any board that you're soldering is to start with the lowest level of thing, you know, so that when you turn it over, the thing doesn't fall out because other components are taller than it and holding the board off, and so those things don't stay flush. So you start with the thing which is the lowest down, and that has to be the surface mount. So I've got to start with the surface mount. I mean, also there's two sides to this. as well. There's all of the control slidery bits and the surface mount all go on this side, whereas on the other side I've got a whole bunch of chips and resistors. So I don't know, start with the surface mount, that's always going to be the way to go, and then probably all the resistors on this side. There's not a whole lot of them. In fact, there's only 250 components on this entire board, and 100 of those are the flipping surface mount, and another 100 are the sliders. So it's actually not a whole lot of other stuff. Gee willikers. I mean, one problem with the silkscreen that you get is that the surface mount ones aren't labelled. There's no label on them at all. And I'm having to make the assumption that they are all the same. I mean, I only have one strip or one component which is surface mount, so that must be all of them. It must be all of them. But that's the one thing that's not labelled. And I was looking at the schematics on the revision 1, and it does have them on there, and as far as I can make out, they're all the same capacitor. But I'm having to, you know, move with a little bit of faith on this one. So, alright, I'm going to settle down and I'm going to do a whole load of surface mount. I thought perhaps we should do the first bit of surface mount, you know, properly on camera, talk you through it, because it's been a little while since I've done it, so it'll be worthwhile, I think, talking to myself about it and just going over again exactly how we did this bit. So I've got a packet here of surface mount. I've got 100 of these little buggers in here. These are, you know, I don't really care what they are at this point. I think they're capacitors. Are they? What are they? Oh, I don't know. I'm sure they're important anyway. But I've got a little tin. Got a little tin here. I'm going to attempt to put these in, and then we'll just go through the first few to see if I can remember how to do it and start getting the flow going. The flow. Go with the flow. How did I do this before? I'm sure I did it in a really clever... Oh, it's not going to be clever, is it? No, it's just going to be what it is. Oh, for crying out loud. Well, if I can't even get them out of the bleeding... Oh, one got away. Is anybody counting how many got in? Two got away. Yep, that's all of those. I got an extra 3 here, all by themselves. Good. So nobody moved. So there are the surface mount. What's its? Capacitors, I think. Yeah, capacitors. There you go. 0.1 microfarad. Little buggers. Hey. So these I've got to stick around here. So the plan was, so I take my flux pen and I paint a bit on like that, like that, like that, like that. I'm just going to do this handful here. Then I take my soldering iron, and what I did before was I put a little bit of solder on one pad. So heat the pad, blob of solder, heat the pad, blob of solder. Then I take an impossibly small component, I heat up the solder, push it in, let go. That should be there. Take another one, heat it up, they should be there. So that's the idea. I'm glad I was still able to do that. I'm not completely convinced by the amount of solder on those ones. Then I solder the other side. Just got to be able to get that soldering iron onto the pad. And that's it. There you go. Some more ad hoc, by hand, manual surface mounting. I think that's okay. I think I'll just now get on with it. All right? Cheers. That's surface mount a go-go. That's done, I think. Of course you can't see any of that on there, but it's awesome. You should have a look at it under a magnifying glass. It's just this mess of globs of solder holding on these tiny weeny components. Fascinating. Now I have no clue as to what to do next. I kind of feel I might do these resistors, which are on this side, and then there's just switches and stuff, so maybe the resistors, maybe this side of the board, so the resistors, the ICs, there's 1, 2, 3 capacitors on there. That I think is probably what's going to be next. So resistors then. Resistors, so this is my bag of bits with which I've only taken out the surface mount so far. So I've got a pack of 10 of those, pack of 11 of those, and a pack of 11 of those. Easy peasy. So these all, I believe, go on this side of the board. All I've got to do is find the spot that they go in and stick them in, solder them down, all that sort of thing. So let's start with R1. See where I get to. R1 is over here. So R1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 47k. 47 kilo ohm. So R1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That's all the resistors in. Awesome. Now I've got just a couple of capacitors and a couple of, I don't know, whatever you call them. I've lost them now. That's a shame. I had them here. They were here. And now they've gone. Now they're gone. Okay, there's one. And there's the other one. A couple of pin headier things that go in here, I think. One seems to be it's got 10 pins, the other one's got 12 pins, so they can only go in one or the other. So I guess it will just have to be right. However, there is something missing, which is there's a pair of diodes here, right in this bottom corner, D1 and D2. There is no mention of those whatsoever. Yes, there is. There they are. So why do they not appear here? Oh, goodness. They don't appear in this list. Now that's interesting because when I did the main board, I had a choice between two sets of diodes and I wasn't sure which ones to put in. And we had a little bit of a discussion online as to which ones to put in, which left me with two, I think. Now I wonder if those two are the ones that are supposed to be in here. Next question is, where the heck did I put those? Here. These are two Schottky diodes. In fact, there's three of them. Oh, gee whiz. This says these should be, no, BAT 85S's. BAT 85S's. What have I got here? BAT 43. These are something else. BAT 85, there you go. Z123, D1, D2. But I put the D1 and D2 in, but that's what they should be. Well, I do not know at this point. I'm going to have to. Let me leave these ones out for a minute. So the question becomes, does it matter? Well, of course it matters, I imagine. But I have these. I'm going to have to check with the Facebook group to see what they think. Well, I can't do anything about that right now, so I'm just going to crack on with some capacitors and these two spiky things. Put the spiky things in first, as they're going to be the most troublesome, I imagine. So this is this one here. And this one here. It does have a pin 1 marked on it, but these don't, as far as I can see. So there doesn't appear to be an orientation as far as those are concerned. The tricky bit is going to be turning this thing upside down so I can keep them flat and make this work. Yeah. That might have worked. Then if I keep this up at this end a little bit, should keep it flat. Super. Now what I did wrong there was to put these in at all, because I've got to put all these IC holders in, and they're not as tall, I don't think. Here they are. Oh, darn it. But let's have a look. They're all 16 pins, so that makes things a little bit easier. But the problem is going to be, I'm not going to be able to turn this lot over without them all falling out. Oh, dumbass. Wow, these things are sent to try us. Well, I imagine I can only do a chunk of them at a time, so let me attempt to do that. So let me do these ones here. Nope, the rest are falling out, of course. That's okay. Come on, hold it together. You can do this. Well, just kind of, yeah, hold it down. Try to pin a leg. Like so. And over here, hold that down. Just going to check that those are flat. Yeah, they're good. Well, I didn't do bad, but I've put two in the wrong way round. These two. How did I do that? That's nuts. Well, this is a good lesson. Good lesson because I just tagged all of these in to do them first, and I thought I was going to solder them at the end, just to make sure that they were in right, so I didn't turn the board over and find they're all wonky. And in doing so, I've identified that two are back to front, which means I can relatively easily undo them. Now, which ones are they? Because they've only got two legs. Those two there. Except they're still not coming out. Maybe we're going to need to do a little bit more, just sort of general pulling. Like so. That's one. One. Great stuff. Now with them all in the right way around, I can just solder every single spike underneath. Yeah, IC holder's all on now, the right way round, I think. Give them one more check. Yes, I believe so, and that's that side of the board done, other than the mystery diodes. The other side then, trying to work out the order. I think the tallest things are evidently going to be the sliders. The sliders are going to be the tallest things. So I'm going to want to do those last. In which case I have some switches and some buttons and a big pot. Which actually maybe I'll do the pot last. And the screen, which is I can't quite work out at the moment, but never mind. Let's stick with what we know. Here I've got four switches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They all go there. That's got to be easy. Let's do that. Now, is there a way that they go, do you think? If I do them all in the same orientation? It's got an E on it. So if I do the E so that it reads correctly, like that. Oh, they're not going in very well. So you have them that way round, because there's nothing on here to indicate anything. Nothing on here, it's just a one way or the other, isn't it? Yeah, so that goes in there. That's the wrong way up. Let's try it the other way around. Ah, well, maybe that's it. Maybe they can't do that. Are they slightly offset? No, they seem to be exactly right. Yeah, no, there they go. There they go. That one in there. Cool. Well, I mean, let's try it out. Those are going to fall out. Those top ones are not. Let's try my piece of magic card. Like so. Good. That's a worry. That's all I've got. That's all I've got of this good stuff anyway. I have ordered some more. Then I've got these 5 tactile switches, like so. It's a funny thing. So there we go, 5 of them, button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way over there. Again, there doesn't seem to be an orientation. Except to say that they probably go a bit like that. They go through more than that? Do they sit that proud? Do they go all the way in? I do not know. I reckon they probably go all the way in. Yeah. So when in doubt, right, just give it a really good push. That's what I got left. Just that little weeny bit. That's all I got. But I got that all on there. That's pretty good. Now all that remains is I've got a pot to put there, the screen, which I say is, I'm not quite understanding. I'll show you why. Get the screen out of here. Now I'm sure there's an explanation and there's something that will come up at some point. But here is the little screen. Yeah. Oh, gorgeous, lovely little screen. Great. Yes. Now, see this here. Can you count those? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is that? Now on the board here, I've only got 4 holes. 4 holes, 7 prongs. So that evidently, although will fit there, does not go in that slot. Now, it's possible that there's a connector to connect from there to here and has it out like this. You know, that's probably what happens. And these are going to be on risers. But I don't know, because as I say, there's no instructions. There's nobody telling me what to do with that. So I'm going to leave that for now and see once I start trying to put it inside the case whether that presents something, or whether there's something in my miscellaneous box that will reveal a cable or something that's supposed to make that work. Do not know at the moment. Does it say anything on here? Nah. Right, so at this point I'm out of solder, but I do have my trusty tub here of lead-free solder. Now, as this is for these big chunky components, I'm not so sure that it matters. I don't know that I care about using it. I mean, I think that's probably going to be all right. So I'm going to crack on, because it would be great to get this to get this field of sliders done. That would be an awesome accomplishment, I think, for today. Even if I have a couple of things I can't quite work out. The diodes and the OLED screen. But getting these in, yeah, got to give that a go. Do I just put them all in? But then how do I turn it over? I don't know. I'm going to have to, I guess, do it in banks. Don't know. Let's give it a go. So I've got 9 here, 10 there, and then 50 of another type. So let's put these 9 in first. So the 9 are the ones with the centre. How do I know? Because they're all 10 to 100 linear. There's 51 with 30mm travel, so they're the big ones. Okay, I'll forget the big ones. These ones have 20mm travel. So this is one of the 50. They got 30mm, whereas these ones in the smaller bags, like so, they're smaller. Do you see? Yeah, see that under here? Oh, and that has a dent in the middle. Ah, interesting. I'll put the big one to one side for the moment. Now the ones that have dents in the middle, I could make the assumption, the mad assumption, that the ones with lines on here is what they're referring to. Should I go with that? Should I just leap into that? Make that a thing? I think so. I don't know what other choice I have. Now, are these orientated? Yeah, I've got 2 spikes and 1 spike. 2 spikes, 1 spike. So that's a middle one. 2 spikes, 1 spike. Now they go in pretty hard. So I don't think soldering is going to be a problem. Now I think I can get away with soldering those as they are. They're not pulling away or anything silly. They're all good. Just going to have to try out my lead-free solder. Here we go. Let's just give it a go. It's rubbish. Oh my life. Right, I'm gonna have to see if I can turn that up a bit then. Right, let's try it again. Oh look, I got melting. Well, suffice to say, with the solder-free solder, it's pretty heavy going. It's very heavy going. I mean, it's much thicker stuff as well. I mean, it's good actually for these particular parts because they could do with a little bit more security. Not sure that one's very good. But, you know, once it bubbles, it bubbles. Once it melts, it melts. It's just difficult to melt. Quite simply. It's just such a huge difference between the other solder. Anyway, I'm going to crack on. There's no need for you to watch all of this. And I'm going to see whether I can just magic all these things on. As long as it doesn't take me too long. Got some more solder. Oh yes, I did. It's now a few days later from last time. You can tell, I think, can you? And by the general state of my lock-in look. I have more solder, good stuff, thin stuff, leaded, that kind of thing. And this is going to work a whole lot better than that other stuff I was using, which can now go away, thankfully. Now, of course, kids, lead-free solder is probably the best thing to use out there for one's health, but it just doesn't work in the same way. So in which case, I'm going to make sure I have this fan on just to blow the fumes a little bit further away from me so I'm not snorting them sort of directly, you know? At least that's the plan. At least that's the plan. So where did I get to? Well, let's have a look. I was almost there. Almost there. I've got everything in place except for the pot and the OLED and the mysterious diodes, for which I do have an answer, which I'll get to in a minute or after I've finished the rest of these bits. But all I did was tag in each of the sliders. Actually, some of them more than others. They're not tagged hardly in at all. So I've got a lot of extra soldering to do around all these other parts to make sure they are all in and secure. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'll finish that off and I'll talk to you afterwards. That took ages. Took a lot longer than I thought it would. But wow, that's pretty much there now. Now I've just got this pot to add, which is here. Oh, just sits there rather nicely by the looks of things. So let's see if I can turn this over without it all falling out. Yep. Great, and that now leaves me with the question of those diodes. Now, I posted this on the Facebook group and I got an incredibly useful reply from Steve, who's the man on there who builds a lot of these. He builds a lot of these, he knows what he's doing, and it kind of demonstrates the void between someone who knows what they're doing and understands the electronics of it all and someone like me that's just blindly sticking stuff, soldering, stuffing it in and seeing what happens. You know, it's just how things are. So on the Facebook group, Steve quotes from Ando Pilv, which is nice. So he says that functionally the IN5817, which is the ones I've got here, the ones that are left over, and the BAT85s are essentially equivalent. They are both Scotty diodes, and there is a difference in the amount of current they can handle and also their physical size. And the man goes on to say that he'd use the BAT85s in the main board, which I've done, and would use these little fellas, or these larger fellas rather, in the hardware board, which is what I've got. So somehow I've stumbled upon exactly the right way of doing it, which is amazing. So thank you for that. The answer is going to be to use 2 of these into the D1, D2 slots right here. So let's do that, and then this board is pretty much done. Of course, you've got to make sure they go round the right way. So that line goes there. Lovely. So there we are. I've got a spare diode which I can stick somewhere. I don't know. Does it matter? Not really. Put that somewhere else. And this leaves me with the chips to install, and of course the screen. Well, with the screen, as far as the screen's concerned, I'm just going to put that to one side. Until I've got the other bits and pieces together, I'm going to be putting it into the case. Because there must be an answer to that, but I imagine it's to do, as I say, with standoffs and with some kind of cable and with other bits and pieces that I haven't looked into yet. So I'm just going to leave that to one side. I'm going to put the chips in, and then this board is done. So where do I put the chips? Right. So I've got a whole bunch here. 10 of these, 10 of these, which is the CD4051 IC2 I'm going to start with. And this is the point where my little IC squisher comes into play. So squish IC2. IC2. Luckily on these ones it's printed so you can actually see it in between the holder. IC2, make sure I get it around the right way. Put that in there. Give it a push. Awesome. So just checking off my list. CIC's done. Diode's done. That done. Capacitor's done. Just leaves me with the OLED screen. Awesome. That's the hardware board. Now, according to my bill of materials, it should then essentially take me on to the voice boards. Although I might do the little output board and the PSU board first, just to get those out of the way, leaving me with the voice boards as the last stage. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So, there we have it. Hardware board complete, almost, as you know, with bits hanging off it. Get out of it. So this is what I'm talking about. This. They're awesome. So, what might be nice at this point would be to sneak on the front panel. Like this. Oh! We're talking. Oh, now we are talking. I mean, look at the state of that. Whoa! That's a flipping synthesizer looking thing. That is. Wow, look at that. That's just superb. Oh, I'm so excited. That's what it's all about. That feeling of, whoa, my goodness. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got a lot of work to do. A lot of voice cards to do. And little bits and pieces before I get myself too wound up. There's the front. There's the back. That's pretty good. Really well pleased with that. Right, that'll do, I think. That'll do for this one. So that was the hardware board. As I say, because the build guide online has disappeared, I will take some photographs of this now to make sure I've got that together. So if you'd like to have those, just drop us a line, get in touch, and I'll see what I can do about that. Otherwise, yeah, moving on. So if you've enjoyed this video, please do get involved. Come, talk to me. Join me on some other videos. Join me on Patreon. Throw me a couple of quid, man. That would be excellent, so I can keep on doing this kind of stuff. Because it's hard and intensive and stressful and costs a lot of time and effort to do this. So support is appreciated. Deeply appreciated. And in the meantime, go make some tunes.